In this video, we're going to be going over the product components for the Inception lighting roofline system. First off, we have the Inception 4-wire controller with 4 outputs and 1 power input. On either side of this controller, you're going to have 2 mounting brackets, and on the side of the controller, you're going to have the indicator light and the reset button. Next up, we have the power supply. This is the Inception MeshTech 24-volt mean-well power supply with 4 mounting points. The gateway is the Inception MeshTech BLE Wi-Fi Ethernet gateway. This will provide internet access to your roofline. The data repeater is the Inception MeshTech repeater used to repeat the signal between 2 controllers that can't see each other. The lid comes in 4-foot sections and in 4 main colors: chocolate brown, tan, gray, and white. Custom colors can be ordered. The base also comes in 4-foot sections and is currently available in a light gray. It comes with a 3M VHB tape already applied to the back side, ready for mounting. The extension or jump cables come in 3 length options: a 25-foot, 10-foot, and 5-foot. Inception nugget strings are designed to look like a C9 string at night, with a 120-degree range of view and forward-facing at 12-inch spacing. They feature a 4-wire redundant data line, meaning that if one light goes out, the rest of the strand will stay on. Their lifespan is rated for 10 years with normal use. The connectors all threaded and weatherproof. They come with 25 nuggets, 5 nuggets, and 2 nuggets. The T-way or splitter is used to make an identical run. And lastly, the end caps to protect the ends of your nugget runs. The components, except for the gateway, are all IP67 rated and UV stabilized. So the only item that will need to go into a dry box is the gateway. Everything else can be mounted outside. To learn more about the Inception lighting roofline system and how to install it, please watch our other videos in our contractor playlist, or contact us to sign up for a training class to become a certified Inception lighting contractor. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you real soon. In this video, we're going to be going over some recommended tools for installing the Inception lighting product line. First off, we're going to go over some drills and drivers. Here's just some options. You definitely don't have to get the brands that I recommend here, but I have a Makita and a DeWalt Makita driver and a DeWalt hammer drill. And when you're using your hammer drill, make sure that you're using the appropriate concrete or masonry drill bit. This one came in the kit with the Tapcon screws, and make sure that you have it on that hammer drill setting. And then I do recommend getting a brushless motor just because of the wear and tear that you're going to be putting on this equipment. And then I do always enjoy having the tester on the back of the battery so you know your battery level. Moving on to that driver, I like having that quick release for the bit. And the bit that I have there is a tapered 1/4 inch. Works great with the Tapcons as well as with wood screws. You'll learn more about those in the attachment methods video. And this tapered bit is actually a homemade one, but you can get them from your hardware store and then have that magnetic tip on there to help hold your screw into place. Moving on to saws, both miter saws and circular saws. That little Makita there is almost too small, and then the DeWalt I do really like. It came with a wood blade on it, both of these saws, and I like having the battery operated so I'm not having to deal with cords out on the job site. But the saw blades that it comes with do not work for cutting the base and lid, so I recommend using a metal cutoff wheel. Just make sure you're getting the right hole there for the type of saw that you're using. Any metal type cutoff wheel will work, and then to switch it out, or any brand of cutoff wheel I should say, to switch it out, the tool to take off that assembly comes on your saws, and then just lock your saw blade in place to loosen that assembly and change out. Same thing with the miter saw. The tool is right on the back, and you can take apart that assembly to put on your new saw blade. I explain more about the saw blades and why I choose the metal cutoff wheel in the cutting base and lid video, but here's some photos just showing off how clean a cut that you get using these saw blades. It's faster than having to tape to use the fine tooth blade, but that's also an option that you can do. If you put tape on there, you won't have as much chipping on the plastic. Another really important thing with your miter saw is to be able to set the miter angles that you're going to be cutting at. This one locks into place, which is really nice. And then also having the tilt for the head there to be able to do any compound miters that you might run into. The other tools that I kind of like having out on the job sites is an angleizer. This is helpful when you come to an angle that's not a perfect 90 degree. Just make sure that you're zeroing it out before you use it. Super helpful for finding those angles. I do always enjoy having a little leaf blower on the job site to make sure that I leave all sidewalks and driveways nice and clean, and then an outlet tester to make sure the electrician did their job right. Check out our other installation videos to learn everything you need to know to install Inception lighting. In this video, we're going to be going over how to cut base and lid for the Inception lighting product line. First off, we're going to be going over how to cut base. A tip for you guys is to mark it with your thumbnail instead of having to pull out a pen, pencil, or a marker. You don't have to be too particular about cutting base since it will be hidden by the lid. So cutting it with a circular saw is just fine since it doesn't need to be square. Next, we're going to be going over how to cut lid. First off, grab a scrap piece of base to pop into the lid a couple inches down from where you're going to be cutting. In this example, we're going to be cutting the lid to fit a peak, and we're going to assume that peak is 90 degrees for this example. So we're setting the saw to 45 degrees. You can see that that scrap piece of base helps hold the lid more rigid so that the pressure from the saw doesn't warp it out of shape, giving you a more accurate cut. The saw does leave behind some burrs from where it's shaved away at that plastic. So once they've cooled off a little bit, I just break them right off. Slide that piece of base off, set the saw to the matching or mirror image angle, and grab your next piece of lid. In our tools video guide, we have an angle finder that we go over on how to find the angles of the buildings. And then when you go to cut your lid, you just divide that angle by the 2 pieces of lid that you'll be cutting. In almost all cases, you'll be cutting 2 pieces of lid at opposite angles to have a matching pair. And in this case, we have the 2 matching pairs to create our peak. Moving on, we're going to be cutting a piece of lid for an outside corner. Most buildings are going to have 90-degree corners on the outsides. Every once in a while, you'll have a building with some more detailed architecture, and they might have like a hexagon-shaped building or something that's kind of odd like that. Otherwise, it'll always be a 90-degree corner. So as you can see, this one will be for an outside corner, breaking off those burrs. And once you have 2 of those, forms your outside corner. And then we'll be doing the exact same thing, but for an inside corner. Typically, I'll always move the table of the saw before I move the saw head. I just think it's faster. And then I stand the lid up against that back rail. This gives me the other orientation for that 45-degree cut to change it from a peak to an inside corner. And here's those matching pair to make the inside 90-degree corner. Moving on to when you need to cut something to fit between 2 lids so it's a more exact cut, or just something that has a nice clean straight and square cut. Set that saw to 0 degrees and make it right so that you don't have a crooked lid that you're popping in the center somewhere that's an eyesore, especially on a 1-story building or over an entranceway that's going to be seen a lot by the client. I do try to keep my saw nice and clean. I love this little leaf blower. And that's gonna wrap it up here. So check out our next video to learn more about how to install Inception lighting.
All right, in that last step, you should have created your MeshTech account. This one, we're gonna show you how to do a controller onboarding, which is a fancy word for setting it up. We're gonna go ahead and open the Blue Roots app, which is the dark square with the little tree light bulb thing. It's going to automatically pop up and say no MeshTech device is found yet. That's completely normal and to be expected because we haven't set one up yet. So at this point, we're going to go right ahead and we are going to plug in the controller to the power outlet. And you'll see nearly immediately at the bottom, it pops up a little message that says, hey, we have detected unpaired MeshTech device near you. Would you like to pair them now? Later or pair? We are going to definitely pair. We're going to click that. It's going to circle around for a little bit. It's going to scan, and it will find the MeshTech controller. And it will present that to us as that little blue squiggle that's kind of hard to see at the top there, but it's there. So we're going to put our finger on that squiggle, and we're going to drag it all the way down to select group, and we're going to let go. Since this is a brand new fresh install and we don't have a group created yet, we're going to have to do that. So you'll see that little circle with a plus sign in it towards the top. Press that. And it'll allow us the ability to enter the group name. So we're just going to call it Spiffy Roof. Create. Created the group, and it has the white circle next to it, indicating that that is in fact the group that we wish to add it to. So we're going to go ahead and hit add at the bottom. And then it'll ask us to choose the light type. In this instance, since this is an Inception exterior RGB building perimeter system, we'll be using the MeshTech Nugget, the bottom choice. And hit next. This is asking us how many lights are on an output. So if we have 2 or more outputs, we're always going to input the number of lights on the longest output. And there's 2 ways of doing that. You can hit this little plus sign down here until you're blue in the face and it increments the lights one at a time. Or you can hit the pencil. The pencil will allow you to set the length. So if you're like, oh, well, I know we have 156 bulbs, you can enter that number and you can set it and it'll automatically change there. So sometimes that's a way of getting a little bit closer. If you're not really sure how many, you can get close and then you can do the plus minus thing to get it accurate. But it's a lot better than drumming on that plus sign for 10 minutes. Your direction allows you to shift where the effect starts. If you want to start at the controller and move to the end, or start at the end and move to the controller. For the most part, you can just leave it as the controller to end. Next. It'll ask us to confirm your strip is fully illuminated and the first 2 and last 2 LEDs are blue. So we're going to confirm that. And it's going to bring us back here just in case we had any additional devices to add. We could do it at that point. We're going to hit done at the bottom. That's going to bring us back to our main screen. It'll attempt to connect to the device, and after a few seconds, you'll get an on-off slider. And then from here, you'll be able to turn your lights on or off, and in the next video, we'll show you how to do colors. In the rare event that you need to reset your Inception Lighting MeshTech controller, there's a very simple process for that as well. You'll notice on the side of the controller is a green light and a soft silicone button. If you press and release at about 1 second intervals, do that about 5 times, you'll notice that the alternating pattern changes to a yellow and green. That is an indication that your controller is ready for pairing. In the rare event that you need to reset your Inception Lighting MeshTech controller, there's a very simple process for that as well. You'll notice on the side of the controller is a green light and a soft silicone button. If you press and release at about 1 second intervals, do that about 5 times, you'll notice that the alternating pattern changes to a yellow and green. That is an indication that your controller is ready for pairing. Setting up a gateway. The gateways are used if you wish to remote into your system to set the schedule, pick a color, turn them on, turn them off, when you're not in the immediate presence of one of the controllers. The gateway itself is this little white box. On the top, back, whatever you want to call it, you're going to have your Cat5 port, your USB power port, your reset button, and then the far right button is where you'll do the 5 timed on-off presses just like you would to reset the main controller should it decide that it doesn't want to behave. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to plug in the Cat5 cable to the top. I've got the USB cable plugged into power. So we're going to slide that in. Now your first instinct is to look for it to do something, and it doesn't. There is a tiny little blue light that shows up in the corner when it's completely booted and has an address. Typically, I usually tell people just to hang tight, go get a cup of coffee, perhaps a lovely donut, I don't know. But anyway, take some time, don't rush this process. It is possible to start setting it up before it is completely booted, and that will not work so pretty well. So just give it a few minutes, I don't know, it's like 3 minutes or so. But you'll see that little blue light come on. Oh, there it is. So you see that tiny little blue light? It's a bugger to see in the sunlight, so sometimes, you know, if you cup your hand around it, you can get to see a little bit better. But that lets us know that this guy is ready to do the install. So we're going to go back to our device on the right hand side there, 3-line hamburger menu, add devices, add gateway. Telling us to turn on the Bluetooth in your phone, keep it near the gateway. Please make sure the Ethernet cable is connected, and it's all ready, which we've already done. So we're going to next. It's going to search for the gateway. It's telling us that the gateway was found. That's good. Next. We're going to give the gateway a name. I don't know why. I usually just call it gateway. Done. And add. It's going to start the pairing and configuration process. It's telling us it was successfully added. Now it's going to check it down to make sure everything's working. We do have the Ethernet cable plugged into it. Wi-Fi is not currently supported, but I believe it is something that they're working on. But we're going to go with the tried and true Ethernet cable. It's going to check the internet connection. Establish the local connection. And if all goes well, it'll come back with the 3 check marks for gateway added, internet, and local connection. This is good. We're gonna hit done. It's gonna do a little configuration fetching and syncing with its server. And it's gonna come back to the main screen here. If you click on the gateway itself, it'll tell you some useful information about it. It'll tell you also if you're connected via the cloud or the local network. So you just saw that it switched because my tablet here is on the same network as the gateway, and it knows that. So it switches to that little house and it pops it online. That's all you have to do for the gateway. It will just pretend that that's basically not there. So whatever scheduling, color changes, and everything else you do will go through the gateway to the devices. I usually tell people that, you know, expect a little bit of a delay because it's got to do some long distance travel to get back to your lights. I usually will now switch my phone over to the cellular network just so that I know that it's not on the same network, and you'll see like a little cloud with 3 little legs coming down. That's an indication that it is online with the cloud-based service. So, and everything else, like I said, will function as normal. Your scheduling, your calendaring, your color changes. So that's pretty much all there is to the gateway. You do have to make sure that this thing is in a fairly close proximity to the other controllers. So typically what I'll do to figure that out is take my phone, and if I can control a device from my phone sitting right next to the gateway, I figure that's probably pretty good and it will be able to communicate. So if you got any problems with these gateways, give us a call and we'll get on to the next video. Thanks. If you're an installer and you need to invite a user, this is how you do that. In the upper right hand corner, you're going to press that little molecule squishy icon. Make sure that you're in the network that corresponds to the client that you wish to share. In our case, I'm going to use that demo square. Call the network. We're going to hit that. And we're going to hit the hamburger menu in the upper left corner, the 3 little lines. My account. And here it shows you all of your ability to change passwords, manage users, and accept invitations. We're going to manage users. Right now we have no users to manage, so we're going to invite one. On the bottom. This is where we'll enter their name and email address. And the most important part of this, the user must have set up their account before it allows you to invite them. We are going to go ahead and enter the name and email address of the person we wish to invite. And hit go. Here it will let you select the network we wish them to be able to control. Remember, we are going to do the demo one. And we're going to send. It will inform us on the bottom that this configuration has been successfully sent. Now you'll notice that their name and email address appears in the managed users list, and it tells us that they have been invited. Once they accept, that will change.